This has got to be a setup, people. I mean, it's got to be a setup at this point. I see no other way to view this. It's got to be a setup. This has got to be staged. I don't see how it cannot be staged. It's unbelievably crazy to me how it can't be staged. And what I mean by staged, I'm talking about LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith. This is turning into an all-out circus. This is turning into a circus. And that's why I'm like, yo, this got to be staged. But what if it's not? What if it's not? Because this is taking levels of if there's gonna be an I got you moment at the end of the year, maybe I don't know, but then no one will ever trust them again. So that's the problem, is if you never have that I got you moment, well, if you have it, then no one will ever trust anything you say about anybody ever again as a media member. But let's talk about this. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Full Court Press, Rudy's Rant. So we talk about NBA basketball, men's hoops. Those of you who just jumped on board on the live session for over 2 hours, I thank you so much for joining me tonight. We had over 300 people in the room between YouTube, almost 200 in YouTube, over 150 between my two Twitter channels. So yeah, I want to say thank you so very, very much for supporting the live and continued support of this channel. I greatly appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Let's talk about this Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James beef, because this obviously dates back to Stephen A. Smith's comments about LeBron and making comments about him as a dad to Bronny, even though we all know what it was truly about. So it's always been about LeBron, and but apparently he got sensitive because he says as a father, which I thought was utterly ridiculous. I am sick and tired of the Bronny James conversation. Honestly, I wish they just stop talking about the guy. He's 20 years old. He's in the G League. If he scores 39 points in the G League, I don't care. If he scores 17 points in the NBA for a game that they lose by 30, I don't care either. Let the guy play. And I wish they just let him play in the G League and keep him there. And then so you can forget about him for a little while, or forget about him, period. And then when he shows up next season, and they give him and he gets a real opportunity to see if he's got stuff to do it, then we find out then. But nonetheless, I wish they'd stop talking about it. I wish Stephen A. Smith would stop talking about LeBron James. It's pathetic at a point. Like, you have nothing else to talk about. You have nothing else to talk about. So LeBron James was on the Pat McAfee Show today in Indiana before they played the Pacers today. I'm sure it was today, because they played the Indiana Pacers tonight, and the Lakers did actually win that game 120-119 as LeBron hit a buzzer beating tip-in from what I'm seeing here. Luka Doncic had 34, LeBron had 13, but he's the hero. He had 13, but he's the hero. Hero LeBron. The fact that Luka had 34 and Reeves had 24 and Jackson Hayes had 13 and Rui Hachimura had 14 and LeBron was 4 of 12, but has a tip-in to win the game. Congratulations, LeBron. But he was on Pat McAfee and he was going in today. There were things that he said that just like, bro, what is going on? But he's obviously now responding to the things that Stephen A. Smith has been doing now, as he's been making his, making the rounds. So let me find some of these clips here because I have a few of them. So by now you've probably already seen the comments that Stephen A. Smith had made on Gil's Arena a few weeks ago, and all the different things that he said on his own podcast in the past weeks, as well as ESPN. But this was today. This was LeBron. This was a clip from the Pat McAfee Show. There are a lot of clips, a lot of them things I don't even care about. This is the one that's obviously, and there's some other comments that I'm going to pop up as well, of course, for which Stephen A. Smith had something to say. But let's jump in on this thing.
This leads obviously to you and Stephen A. Hey, legit. That feels like a moment that had been brewing for a long time.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're watching it. Yep. We're all seeing it.
Oh yeah,
we're all. You're seeing it as well. It's
he literally. It started off with, I didn't want to address it.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it, but since the video came out, I feel the need to address it.
You would be not to talk about it.
Are you kidding me? If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you could address it, it's your ass. Like seriously, it's and like another, he completely like missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job, to criticize or to, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players, and I think a lot of the media, including him, and I know he's gonna be happy as hell. He's gonna be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about him again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the fucking freezer and sit in his chair and his tidy whities on the couch.
I hope at some point you two do get a chance. But you're right.
Dude, like relax, bro. Like relax. Like seriously.
Tidy whities. Oh my God, that's funny as hell. It's there was another comment that he made. It was about Brian Windhorst. Let me see here. Where is it? That comment he made on Brian Windhorst, which I thought was Stephen A. Smith got all up in arms about. Let's see that one.
I seen a lot of shit too. Like I seen Brian Windhorst on one of these shows not too long ago. Like
Wendy.
Yeah, you played over high school.
Wendy, you guys played together in high school.
Yeah,
right? He was on your high school.
This guy was like, says he's like my fucking best friend. These guys are just weird. But
wait, Wendy,
isn't that
that's
not real.
Yeah, it was our enforcer, huh?
Knew it.
I seen.
What the fuck? Oh, I hadn't even seen that clip yet. Okay. Here is we're gonna find the Stephen A. Smith stuff, because Stephen A. Smith had some comments back from this video with LeBron James, and again, I don't know where the putting your hands on thing was, because I listened to this thing and I don't know where the put your hands on thing was. But this was before he actually went on Pat McAfee, where Stephen A. was talking about him again, because it seems like there's literally nothing that Stephen A. Smith can do without talking about LeBron James, and it's becoming an everyday occurrence. So this is what he said today before. Actually, no, it wasn't before, because this was where LeBron said that Giannis would have 250 points in a game in the 70s, which I didn't include that in here because it's just stupid. And I'm going to presume that LeBron was being hyperbolic and exaggerating, because obviously no one's ever going to score 250 points in a game in the NBA on any level in any generation. But this is what Stephen A. had to say about LeBron in this particular comment. So let me share this with you. Forgot to share it. That's kind of important.
Here's the problem with what LeBron James did. It's still disrespectful to the previous eras. and there's no call for it. And so when he does what he does on that level, that's him, passive aggressively yet again, finding a way to take shots because inherently he has a problem with himself being compared to dudes from previous eras because folks talk about him. They talk about what he would have been. For example, he's not my GOAT. He's Shannon's GOAT. He might be yours or somebody else. He's not mine. Why do I say that? Because the road to prosperity that he had to travel, I believe going up against the old guard like Jordan and them, they would have stopped him before he learned how to win. I'm not talking about LeBron once he learned how to win. I'm talking about the LeBron that was absent prior to that person that showed up. And if you got to go up against a killer like Michael Jordan and others who would try to snatch your heart right out of your chest, I believe somebody like Jordan would have impeded his path. Nobody was going to impede Kobe. Nobody was going to impede MJ. Nobody was going to impede Duncan and people like that. But him, I believe he would have been impeded, which is why I have Jordan there. The previous eras are what enables you to be who you are. We look at this industry, for example. What would we have been if it were not for Stuart Scott?
What in the world is he talking about? Like, okay, now, what is he talking about? So he's not your GOAT because he would have been impeded. Let me repeat that because maybe I missed something here. I'm gonna play it again. Give me a sec. This is ridiculous. Actually, I'm not a LeBron fan. That's what he just said was literally the stupidest shit I've ever heard. One of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Fuck it. Let me play it for you guys again because this is just so stupid. This is really stupid.
To prosperity that he had to travel.
Talking about LeBron.
I believe going up against the old guard like Jordan and them, they would have stopped him before he learned how to win.
They would have stopped him.
I'm not talking about LeBron once he learned how to win. I'm talking about the LeBron that was absent prior to that person that showed up. And if you got to go up against a killer like Michael Jordan and others who would try to snatch your heart right out of your chest, I believe somebody like Jordan would have impeded his path. Nobody was going to impede Kobe. Nobody was going to impede MJ. Nobody was going to impede Duncan and people like that. But
the fuck is he talking about? So then why would you have him number 2? See, that's just the stupidest shit ever. No one was going to impede Kobe. No one was going to impede Duncan. Nobody was going to impede MJ. When Michael Jordan won, he never lost again. Bar none, end of story. When he won the championship, he never lost it again. And I'm including the 2 years as like washes from when he retired. Duncan did not win a championship every year for 20 years. Kobe was on. Let me check again because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to say the wrong thing here, but Kobe was on some shitty Lakers teams. You remember, he wanted to leave LA at one point. People forget that. He wanted to leave. Kobe. So there was a stretch after Shaq left. Now, I'm not even remembering 04-05 Lakers. I don't know if Kobe got hurt or not. I don't remember, so don't kill me. They were 34-48. Even the year after, 45-37, 42-40. Those were not good teams. And then after Kobe had his run of 57-25, lost the finals 65-17, won the finals 65-7-25, won the finals. Then it was 57-25, lost in the Western Conference semis. Then he lost again. Then he lost again. Then his team was terrible, terrible, terrible. Like, he was on some awful squads. Like, for real. Like, I'm not sugarcoating this shit. The team that his last year was absolutely horrendous. It's horrendous. So what the hell is he talking about? No one was going to impede Kobe. He got impeded a whole lot. No one was going to impede Duncan. He got impeded a whole lot. The only guy who, once he won, didn't get impeded was Jordan because he never stopped winning. This is just the stupidest statement I've ever heard. But yet you have him as number 2, even though you just said no one was impeding those guys. It doesn't even make sense. Now, he made another comment about Windhorst, as you heard what LeBron had to say about Windhorst. Yes, Windhorst acts like he and LeBron are best buddies. It's just very weird. I agree with that. I actually agree with that. He acts that way. We all know that's not true. Like, really, do you see LeBron hanging out with Brian Windhorst? Seriously? So now we jump in on Stephen A. Smith's podcast because he ran home to jump in podcast about this, of course, because there's no other way to do it than to jump on and do a podcast. So he turns the podcast, of course. I think LeBron spoke about Stephen A. for all of like 2 minutes. This podcast is 52 minutes long. So for a 2-minute clip, he speaks for 52 minutes. I mean, that's pretty fucking skillful, man. I got skills in talking, man, but man, I don't know that I can make a 2-minute clip go 52 minutes. That'd be pretty tough. I may try it one day. But let's play Stephen A. Smith.
So let's get that out the way first. Let's also get out the way that major props to Pat McAfee for getting that interview. There's a lot of people that's been texting me, and he's a teammate. He's on ESPN. Why would he do that? Please, y'all, be quiet. Pat McAfee did nothing wrong. Pat McAfee did his job. Pat McAfee has a show that airs on ESPN. You have an opportunity to get LeBron James, you take him. I don't give a damn who you are. This is one of the greatest players in the history of basketball. You get him. If you have an opportunity to get him, you get him. And I didn't think that Pat McAfee disrespected me or did me wrong in any way. He did his job, and I got no problems with it. My issue is with LeBron James. And I just want to say for the record, LeBron James is full of it. And in this particular instance, as it pertains to his son, he is a liar. And he went on national television today and he lied again. You see, when he approached me while I was sitting courtside at that game against the New York Knicks, when he rolled up on me, I didn't know he was going to roll up on me. I had no idea. But when he said what he had to say, I was in no position to give any kind of retort without.
That's horse shit. See, I'm not gonna go through this bullshit. He wants to tell his story all over again. This is what he's done on his Taylor Swift tour. This is what he did on his Taylor Swift tour, as LeBron called it, a Taylor Swift tour. This is the exact same shit. He's telling the story all over again. I wasn't in position. I had just signed a contract. The fuck? What?
Making a scene. It was during the third quarter. It was fresh out of a timeout. It was him walking to the basketball court. It was on national television. The cameras were rolling. And had I done something, what do y'all want me to do? You want me to act? You want this to be a reincarnation of Chris Rock and Will Smith? And let me state for the record that while we bring up that, let me assure you, it wouldn't have gone down like that. I would have gotten my ass kicked. Because had that man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately. That I'm not going to tolerate. But I knew he wasn't going to do something like that. There was no fear in my mind about it. It was shock. Because as I have repeatedly stated, I was not talking about his son.
All right, so there was no fear, but you let him punk you like a child. You also, again, this is why he's lying. He's calling LeBron might be a liar, but you're definitely a liar, because if you had no fear, you would have responded on the spot. Beyond that, because you just said you had no fear of being hit, so you would have swung on him if he had put his hands on you. But if you weren't afraid of him putting his hands on you, then why didn't you respond on the spot? You're worried about what the cameras. Remember, you also said that you didn't know this was on camera. You didn't know this would go viral because you had no idea the cameras were on. You said that also. You had no idea that anyone had it recorded, but the cameras were on. So which one is it? The cameras were on, or you had no idea. See, you're the liar. And LeBron punked you. And I thought what LeBron did was foul. I don't like what he did. I said that before. I don't like what he did. I think there are better ways to handle situations. I'm not one that thinks that everything is dealt with people throwing hands, unless you're a professional fighter in BKFC, the UFC, boxing, whatever, PFL. Unless you're a fighter, I don't think you need to be solving issues with your hands. We are adults. LeBron's 40. Stephen A's like 57, around there. I think he's around 50. I think he's 57. And yet you're going to sit here and say that you weren't afraid of him putting his hands on you, yet you had no response because you were shocked. Because I wasn't talking about Bronny, I was talking about you. Man, please. Child, please, man. Stop.
I was talking about him. And whether it's the video that you saw him a couple of days later after that incident when he was talking to Richard Jefferson, my colleague at ESPN, before an ABC game in Boston when it got blown out that night by the Celtics.
He's literally going to just repeat everything. So let me find that other comment because I don't give a fuck about all this other bullshit. These are the two comments that mattered. Everything else is just a regurgitation of what he said. So let me find that Windhorst comment.
When LeBron talked about the media weeks ago, what does he do now? He comes on Pat McAfee Show again today and listen to what he had to say. Listen closely. Check it out.
I see a lot of shit too. Like I seen Brian Windhorst on one of these shows not too long ago. Like
Wendy.
Yeah, you played over high school.
Wendy, you guys played together in high school.
Yeah,
right? He was on your high school.
This guy was like, says he's like my best friend. These guys are just weird.
I have worked with Brian Windhorst for years. Never once did he say that LeBron was a best friend. A matter of fact, years earlier, it was LeBron who sat in front of the microphones and said, probably nobody knows me better than Brian Windhorst, who's been covering me since I was in junior high school.
Get the fuck out. See, that's a disingenuous ass statement. No one knows him better. Yes, from a media perspective. See, that's a spin because you goddamn well know that LeBron is not hanging out with Brian Windhorst. You damn well know those two dudes aren't hanging out together. That dude was, please, man, please stop it, Stephen A. Yes, from a media perspective, he probably knew LeBron better than anybody because he'd covered him since he was in junior high for whatever local paper he was at or wherever he was working. Don't act like they knows him better than his friends. He's not his friend. Come on, man. See, that's a bullshit wordsmith play he's doing there. And I get it right now. He's in his feelings about LeBron and all this shit. But that's rather pathetic.
But that's how he talked about him. Brian Windhorst is an exceptional commentator who does a phenomenal job for ESPN. My show, Get Up, NBA Today, Sports Centers, goes and covers the game. He is one of the elite people covering the NBA in this world.
No,
and nobody, I repeat, nobody
No, he's not.
defends LeBron James more than that man. And look at what LeBron James did.
Yeah, because he's a puppet. No one defends him more because he's a puppet. We all know why Windhorst even has a job. Everyone knows why Windhorst even got his job. Windhorst, come on now. You know why he even got his job. Because the ESPN hired him to continue to follow LeBron around. They could have hired somebody else with more experience. They hired him, probably paid him dirt money because he was coming from a local thing or whatever. Come on, man. See, he's bugging. He's full of shit. This is capping, man. This is crap. I don't like that shit. He's full of shit. Stop.
Y'all have watched Wendy Report for years. Tell me one time. Tell me one thing that Brian Windhorst has done to negatively impact LeBron James. One. Take your time. I'll wait. Nobody is more fair. Nobody digs deeper, maneuvers through the crevices to find the positive about LeBron James, no matter what the story is. But that's how LeBron talked about him.
Now I want you to remember what he just said. Nobody digs through the crevices to find the good about LeBron James. So he's a puppet. That's what you just told us. You should have shut the fuck up. Stephen A. Smith, you just embarrassed Brian Windhorst. I know you don't think you did because you think you're playing Captain Save-A-Ho, but you just embarrassed Brian Windhorst. You actually made Brian Windhorst look bad. Like really bad. Like really, really, really bad. Yeah. That's not a good look. You just told us that Brian Windhorst is always digging for positive on LeBron James. So he's not actually talking about him properly. He's puffing him. He's blowing him. None of this shit's real. None of it's real. He is a shill for LeBron. That's what you just told all of us. Maybe you don't think so, but as smart as you think you are, that's exactly what you just did. This again. I have to ask myself, and I'm really on that point where I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Is this whole thing a setup? If it is, they're doing a great job because they're keeping it interesting. They can't ever say gotcha because then they'd be discredited for what they are. But at the end of the day, whether it is or not, it could be. But if it's not, Stephen A. Smith saying that, LeBron gives you enough things to talk about. Yeah, because you don't actually watch your sport. This goes back to coverage of your sport. You are supposed to cover the sport. You're supposed to teach people about basketball, not just talk about one guy over and over and over and over and over again. That's all he does. Talks about one guy. It would be really impressive. It would be really, really impressive if we got to actually watch Stephen A. Smith do his job as a professional and teach people about basketball. I would be ecstatic to watch that happen. But I don't think we're ever going to see that. I don't think we're ever going to see Stephen A. Smith build up a player or two or three or four and ride that wave with that player. Like Cade Cunningham right now is balling. Talk about it. Why don't you talk about him? Why isn't he getting promoted more? Why aren't the Pistons getting promoted more? They're one of the surprise shockers. They're one of the shockers. They are a 5 seed as of today. 41-32, ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks. They're a game and a half behind the Pacers. They're a bigger story than anything else. They're a bigger story in the league than anything else. Heck, why aren't you talking about Memphis more? Why aren't you talking about John Morant more? You can't talk about him now because he carried a gun? I find it weird, man. I find it weird. Why aren't you talking about the Rockets more? They're the 2 seed. They're 47-26. You would think that you would be talking about Ime Udoka like crazy. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you be talking about Udoka like crazy? This guy has literally changed a franchise. Like this was a duck team, a bum team. And they're a 2 seed in the West. Now, how far they go, I have no idea. But they've been flipped upside down in 2 seasons with that guy as the coach. 2 seasons. You don't talk about them. 2 years ago, the Rockets were 22-60. Udoka comes in last year, 41-41. This year, they're even better. Your job is to teach people about sports. You're a pundit on basketball. You claim to be an expert in basketball, but all we get to listen to you is talk about fucking LeBron James all day long. And if I was LeBron James, I'd be really irritated too at a certain point. It gets tired. It gets old. You don't have to talk about LeBron James every day. I guarantee you. LeBron hits a game winner tip in tonight to beat the Pacers. I guarantee you that's going to be one of the first stories on ESPN First Take tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. If that is not talked about during that show, I will be flabbergasted. But I will bet you it'll be one of the first things talked about tomorrow morning. But anyhow, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think of this circus going on between these two. It is becoming kind of ridiculous. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Appreciate y'all. This is Rudy's Rant, Full Court Press. Come on now.